much time have I got? Because I could spend a lot of time on comfrey. Comfrey is a remarkable herb. And comfrey has a growth stimulant, so don't put it in your garden. It will just take over because it's got a growth stimulant. Now maybe down here in Invercargill, with your cool winter months and lots of frost, maybe it won't get out of control, because in the winter all the leaves go and the root remains. But in the early spring, the comfrey shoots up. Now comfrey contains a growth stimulant, so wherever you apply comfrey, it's going to stimulate rapid healing. Its nickname is knitbone because of its ability to knit bone, and it can knit tendons and ligament and tissues. In the spring and in the summer, the active nutrients from the comfrey are found in the new leaves. But in the autumn and in the winter, all the healing properties go down to the root. So if you use comfrey in the winter, you use the root. If you use comfrey in the spring and summer, you use the leaves. The smaller leaves are very, very potent. Now there've been messages coming out through the media that comfrey's dangerous. Have you heard that? And it will cause liver damage. Well, in her book, How I Can Use Herbs in My Everyday Life, Isabel Shepherd, she gives a whole section on comfrey, and she tells the story of a farmer who bought an old cow, female cow, from the abattoirs. The cow was old, could hardly walk, and he was going to experiment on this old cow because the cow was going to die anyway. So all the farmer did was give it comfrey leaves, and he wilted them. They'll wilt, within an hour of picking, so the cow could eat more. The cow got stronger and stronger and bigger and started prancing around the paddock and started to produce milk. And he said the cream on that milk was about 1/3 of the milk. Why did he do it? To prove. See, they say that comfrey will cause liver damage. That's all this cow ate. Didn't even eat any grass, just the comfrey. Incredible experiment.
Sheep will eat it too.
Sheep will eat it too, and sheep will not eat a plant that will hurt them, will they? It's a remarkable herb because it has a growth stimulant in it. It's got a growth stimulant, it's anti-inflammatory, so it gets the inflammation down, and it's a lubricant. So it's excellent on bones. We had a lady, and I'll make this story very short, she broke her leg, she broke her tibia and her fibula, and she had a crushed knee. And we knew it was broken because when we found her, she'd fallen off a bike. She's 56. The bone was not sticking through the skin, but it was poking up like a tent. Anyway, we had a guy there that knew bones, and he said, "Hold on, Katie," and he realigned it. The ambulance came, took her away, and anyway, she was in hospital 3 weeks, and they would not operate. They were going to do pins and plates on her because her leg was so swollen. And her husband was getting frustrated with this, so he brought her home, and we brought her into my lounge room. And it was the winter, so we grated up the comfrey root every night. Every night we grated up the comfrey root. We made a poultice. You grate up the root, and it goes like chewing gum. You see, it's got this lubricant in it. And we'd make a poultice like I showed you the other day, and then I'd pour a little bit of boiling water on it to soften it a bit and warm it and put it on the leg. And I'd put it around the knee and also where the break was in the tibia and the fibula. And we would pray over it. We'd say, "Father in heaven, we don't know what we're doing here, but you do." Do you know that lady totally healed? It was incredible. She did not get out of bed for, I think it was 5 weeks. And we kept it straight, but every night we'd put the comfrey poultice on it. And then after 6 weeks, she started to walk with crutches. And then I think it was another 2 weeks, and she started gingerly walk with a walking frame. And it was probably about 3 months, and she was running. Now, they told her she'd probably never walk properly again because it was such a serious break. Now, that was probably the most serious thing that we have ever done. And the doctor, when she went back to the doctor, he said it mustn't have been broken. But there was an x-ray that showed it, and the bone was nearly through big, because it's unbelievable, isn't it? It isn't when you realise what Comfrey does. Remember the three things? It has a growth stimulant, so whether it be bone or tissue, or tendon or ligament or skin. Growth stimulant, it's a lubricant, excellent for joints. And it also reduces the inflammation. So I told you that if I was going to talk about Comfrey, I'd need a bit of time. It's a remarkable, remarkable herb. So we pick the leaves in the spring and the summer, and I dry them till they're totally dried out in a warm oven, and then I pound them up to a powder, and I do that 3 times, so I've got 50 leaves. So in my jar I've got 150 leaves. They come down to a fine powder. The jar's this big, I fill it a third full, then I fill it with olive oil and I shake it and I let it sit for 2 months. And after 2 months I strain it into a double saucepan, and then I warm beeswax, I mix them together and pour it into jars. And you can ring Misty Mountain Health Retreat and get a jar of Comfrey cream. It's dark green.
When do you get time to do anything else?
Oh, that's one of my hobbies. Yes?
Bones have been broken and have healed, presumably, and now you've got arthritis. Would Comfrey do anything for that, or would you have something else?
Yes, Comfrey would help, but for arthritis, the ginger poultice will take the inflammation out. Yes?
So when you were telling the story about this broken bone, you applied that every day for 3 months?
Oh, yes, yeah. Every day. Even when it looked like it was probably healed, we just still did it. Yep. And it's remarkable how it healed. But I was on a plane one day and I was next to an orthopedic surgeon. How I discovered this was because I'm platinum and frequent flyer, I'm always up the front of the plane. So this guy was next to me and he had a suit on and he had a book in there and it said, Healing at a Cellular Level. So when I sat down, I said, that looks like an interesting book. And he looked at me and said, who are you? I said, I'm Barbara O'Neill. What do you do? I said, I'm a nutritionist and a naturopath. And he went, I said, and who are you? He said, well, I'm Dr. Such and Such and I'm an orthopedic surgeon. And I went, Anyway, now we're on a level ground, we began to talk. He said, you know, before we orthopedic surgeons, bones healed. Bones healed. The orthopedic surgeon can't heal a bone, the body heals the bone. So basically what the Comfrey did, and I think if we didn't do the Comfrey, I think it probably would have still healed, but not as quickly. The Comfrey boosts it up, and I was giving her high nutrition. In fact, this orthopedic surgeon said to me, do you know, half of the surgeries we do are unnecessary. Wow. I said, well, what I do is I teach people to look after their body so they don't get to you. He said, good. He said, I don't do unnecessary surgeries, but he said, many do. He said, they've got to pay the bills. Oh, think about that. So how nice if we can keep our body strong and healthy. I said to him, well, if I get a broken bone, I'll come and see you. He said, I won't see you. Because he knew. He said, I got these women and their knees are breaking up. He said, they're very overweight. He said, they insist, so I do knee replacement. He said, I don't know how that knee's going to ever heal with all that weight on it. He said, we have a hard job. And I agree, they do have a hard job. They do the best they can, but how nice if we can actually give our body the conditions so it's strong and healthy, and if there is an injury, it will heal.